YouTube, Scott Off-Road. How you doing today? We're back in the garage working on the Mission to Haiti Jeep. As you can tell, the bushings for the sway bar are shot. The springs are actually bent. The shocks were shot. The bushings inside the control arms were shot. And if you look at that ball joint there, it's in pretty rough shape too. We ended up going with the Rusty's 3-inch suspension lift with this. It came with heavy-duty front springs, front, upper, and lower control arms with bushings, rear spring, and shocks with extended brake lines as well. This is what it all looked like once we got the front suspension out, both left and right. And if you notice here, this is the comparison between the front springs and the control arms. As we tore apart the Jeep, we started realizing that the front axle U-joints were shot and the ball joints were questionable, so we decided that we're going to have to, since we pull out the bearings to get to the axle U-joints, replace the axle U-joints, replace the bearings, replace the ball joints, and then we're also going to replace all the tie rod ends, and that way the entire front end's been rebuilt when this is all said and done. New brake lines, the brake shoes look good, so this should be a complete front end job on this Jeep. So that's where we're at with this, and we'll just keep plugging away. Alright, we're starting to work on the back of the Jeep here. One of the problems I had is these bolts that were through the spring hanger and into the captured nut in the unibody had actually rusted to the bushings inside the leaf spring, so I had to cut them out. And then I actually had to cut those spring hangers, bend everything out to pry them out, and then re-weld it all back together. Added a lot more work than what I anticipated to do this. Fortunately, having the welder made it a doable project. This project did take several days to do. I was able to work on one corner and call it a night, work on a little bit more, call it a night, and so it made it a lot easier to do. I must be getting old because I used to do this all in one night and then take the Jeep to work the next day. That wasn't going to happen on this one, and just unfortunate, but it's made it more relaxing to do. So as you can see, if all else fails, just get a hammer. This is before I actually cut that bracket. I'm just in case you're wondering, what I'm doing here is the bolt that went in to the captured nut in the unibody, it came out through the bushing just far enough to get past the nut, but it's still stuck inside the unibody. So I've cut the hanger, and this is where me trying to bend that hanger out and just pry that leaf spring out far enough to get it to drop out. So that's what I'm doing. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Wasn't expecting it, but it's a Jeep thing. Well, we're putting in the springs in the back of the Jeep now. We're getting close to wrapping this up, but unfortunately we're not going to be anywhere near being done. At this point I still needed to put the shocks in. They are in now. The rear brake lines, I need to put an extended brake line in the back that came with the kit, and I need to replace a damaged brake line. And then I need to put the front tires back on and install the track bar so everything's set up. But then I got to take it all back apart to bleed the brakes and to rebuild the front end. So there's still quite a bit of work left to do to it. Unfortunately, I can't show you what it's going to look like done on this video, but we have new bumpers sitting next to the Jeep getting ready to get installed as well. Happy Jeeping and have a blessed day.